Hi, and welcome to my page. My name is CJ, better known as Y2CJ3600. For many years now, I've been working in Photoshop. I've been working in Photoshop since 2001 or 2002. And with it being 2012, well, my skills has kind of advanced since a long time ago. I've made hundreds and hundreds of Photoshop pictures, and on this channel I make tons of animation videos using Photoshop. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make Batman. The Photoshop program I use is Photoshop 6.0. It's the first version of Photoshop and it's extremely old. I know there are new ones out there, but I just don't have it. We're going to start off by making a new document. We're going to have it transparent, and we're going to have the resolution to 96. We're going to have the width to 990, and we're going to have the height to 720. That's just normally the measurements I use when making a video. Now we're going to make our transparent page black, and we're also going to add in a folder. Years ago when I was making my videos, it took a lot longer to make because I didn't have the templates set up in advance. So I took one whole year out to make tons and tons of templates. Mostly I like doing comic book stuff. So I have hundreds of Marvel and DC comic templates. Now we're going to make Cyclops from a picture I found on the internet from the Daredevil. And this picture I found from a really good toy site. And this picture of a toy is just a picture of his bust from the head down somewhat towards his neck and a little bit of his chest area. Now as you can see, the picture of the head bust is red. Now we're going to change that to black. Now since I already have this as a template, I originally saved this in a PNG picture saving. PNG is different from JPEG and different from GIF because PNG, it allows you to save a picture without any space in the background and leaves it transparent. But in order to transfer it onto another document, you have to select the entire picture and then drag it on over. Go to Edit and Free Transform. Now I'm going to make the head a little bit bigger because it's a little too small for what I want. Go to Layers, New Adjustment Layers, then Hue, Saturation, then a box is going to come up and you want to click that box and hit OK. If you change a picture by any means, whether it's color, it's brightness, it's hue, it's whatever, you want to click that box so whatever effects will stay contained within that picture and that picture only. If you don't click that box, then everything on that page will change. Now we're going to grab the saturation triangle and we're going to slide it all the way to the left to where it's negative 100. And see, now the picture is turned from its color onto gray. Now we're going to enlarge and take the selection tool and we're going to carefully outline where his part of his flesh is around his nose and mouth. Okay, once that's highlighted, and now we're going to mask the hue saturation. Once that's selected, you're going to go over to your paint bucket, make sure the black box is selected, and then you're going to click within the selected area to take away the gray and select that. And now we're going to carefully take out some of the red that we didn't finish selecting. Right now I'm using a harder brush, but it's best to use a softer brush, and I'll use a softer brush a little bit later. The softer brush I like to use when masking things because it leaves a very faint trail that isn't too hard and too detectable. Okay, now we're going to make the gray parts really dark. We're going to select the burn tool and make sure it's selected for burn and not spot plunge or dodge. Now we have the burn tool, and set the brush to 300, something really big and wide, and adjust it to your preference. And just begin shading in the areas to make it darker. Now, I personally don't like how red his flesh is, so I'm going to change the color of the red within the flesh. And you do that by going to Layers, New Adjustment Layers, Selective Colors, and you want to click that box. And then you can begin by changing the different colors within the picture. Right now I have it set for red, and I'm just going to adjust it to a tone of flesh that I like better. And there are other colors which you can select at the little drop down box. Okay, now I'm going to increase it because we want to get rid of his horns. And by doing that, you take your selection tool and just select a part of his forehead that doesn't have the horns around it. Now you're gonna, once that's selected, you're gonna copy and then paste in that folder and just position it over to mask out the horns. In order to mask, once again, go over to the layer box towards the right and hit that second button with a little circle in it and hit mask. Once you hit mask, then your colors will change from black to white. If they don't change to black and white, then make them black or white. Once the black box is selected, I'm going to take the paint bucket and I'm going to erase that new layer by making it go invisible. And I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to just brush in part of the forehead that we made, and I'm going to blend it in accordingly so that it blends very nicely. Now I'm going to duplicate that picture layer. To duplicate, you have to right click within that picture layer box, then you hit duplicate, and now we're going to slide on over, and now we're going to flip it horizontal. So you'll have to go to Edit, Transform, and then flip horizontal at the bottom. And now you just want to blend that in to make it flow a little bit more better. Now that it looks perfect to me, I want to go to Layers and click Merge Down to merge down all those layers. It's best to go with Merge Down instead of Merge Picture, because you merge picture, it will cut off anything that's cut to the sides that you can't see off screen. And you go to flatten image, then it will have a white background, and you don't want that. And now I'm going to select that black background. See, there's anything that looks kind of funny that I miss when it's in transparency. And I just want to get rid of all the little minor distractions in the picture. I see that there's a white line somewhere on his forehead. So to get rid of that, I'm going to use the selection tool to select part of his forehead that doesn't have the white line. I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm going to mask that. I'm going to copy and paste, and I'm just going to move it over to where it covers up that white line, and then I'm going to mask it so that the line you can no longer see. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of the access part of his mask where his ears are, because I don't need that. I'm just going to take the selection tool and select around where the parts I don't want, and then just hit delete. So we're going to go back to our Daredevil picture, and here's another picture of a toy, and we're just going to take parts of his chest and shoulders. I'm going to use the selection tool for that and just drag it on over. Go to Layers, New Adjustment Layers, Hue and Saturation, and we're just going to turn this red into gray. So select the saturation triangle and all the way to the left. Now we're going to use the burn tool, and we're just going to turn that gray to black. Now we're going to free transform this, and that's Edit, Free Transform, and we're going to get the size that we want. Once we get the size that we want, we're going to go over into the layer box towards the right, which is the layer window, and we're going to select the torso, and we're going to drag it underneath the head so that the torso will align itself underneath the head, which makes it easier to mask. And now we're going to select the mask tool on both the head and torso. And the mask tool is located in the layer window, and it's the second button with the circle in it at the very end. And now we're just going to blend both of these two pictures together until we get what we want. Okay, now we're going to work on Batman's ears. When working on a large project such as this, you want to use a larger picture. The larger the picture, the better pixelation will be. If you use a very small picture and you begin to stretch it using free transform, it's going to be very pixelated and really fuzzy. So let's go on over to my Batman folder, and let's just take some ears that are already made for us. And I want to find the biggest picture I can. Okay, now we're just going to select part of the ear, and we're going to drag on over to our document. Now you see that this ear is bigger than the other one, and I'd rather use a larger ear than a small one, so I won't have to make it too large and too pixelated. Now we're going to adjust the ear to fit the size of the head using free transform, which is edit, free transform. And we're just going to keep playing around with this until we get a size that we want. Now we're going to duplicate this layer, which is in the layer window, and you just right click the ear and hit duplicate and line that up. So far I like this, so I'm going to merge the two, which you go to layers, merge down, and now I'm going to turn. Now in case this isn't black, I'm going to go and mess with the hues, which is layer, new adjustment layers, hue saturation, pull that triangle of the saturation all the way to the left, and now I'm going to use the burn tool to darken it in some, and now I'm going to mask my ears onto the head, and I'm just going to use the paintbrush tool to even that out. Okay, now the ears still look a little small for my take. I have my ears in a position which I do not want, and I want to move them over. I probably shouldn't merge those two to begin with, but this is how you can fix it up. Now, since it's already masked, it will not be a good idea to select it and then move it around, because you'll have to click that first box, which is the picture, and not the mask box, which is the fuzzy black and white picture towards the right in the layer window box. So what you can do is duplicate and then go and merge the two together, which will make it a solid picture. Then you can select which part of the picture you want with the selection tool, then use the pointer tool and move it accordingly. Okay, now we're going to make Batman's nose. And we're going to go back to that large picture of the Batman face that we have, and we're just going to select around his nose area. We're going to drag down on over. Okay, and now we're going to turn it to black by adjusting its hue saturation. And now we're just going to free transform this into the size that we want. Now we're going to duplicate this picture. We're going to go to edit, transform, flip horizontal, and let's see. Now we're going to merge the two pictures together, and we're just going to use our selection tool to take away some parts of the nose that we don't need, and so we can even it up. And we want to have a little bit of his nostril showing. Make that a little bit bigger. darker. Now we're going to mask it. Take a paintbrush, and we're going to use a soft brush, and we're just going to mask away from those excess lines around the pupil area. Now time for the eyes. We're going to use a different picture for this. And we're just going to select around Batman's eye area. We want to get those rigid shapes. And we're just going to free transform this around to fit the shape that we want. And now we're going to duplicate it and flip it horizontally. Merge the two layers together by going to merge down. Now we're going to mask this, have the selection black, use our paint bucket, make it invisible. Now we're going to select the white box, use our paintbrush, and just begin masking that in to how we like it. Now I want to turn that black background into white so we can see any mistakes we might have made, and we can clear those up. Okay, I'm not liking how Batman eyes look. They look kind of just blah and a little sad. We want him to look a bit more fierce and angry. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the eye picture. We're going to duplicate it. We're going to merge it down, and then we're going to select one of the eyes, copy and paste, and now we're going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and we're just going to slightly turn it to a slant so that he looks a little bit more angry. Now we want to duplicate, and we want to flip horizontally, merge down, and now we're just going to mask that in so that it blends well with our picture. And now he's looking more angrier, like a traditional Batman. Okay, in case you don't like how wide his mouthpiece is from more of the traditional comic book, Adam West, Burton and Joel movies, and if you want to go with a smaller mouthpiece like in the Nolan pictures, then what you can do is this, and go back to the other layer, which is just the head and the torso, and just select the mouthpiece, copy and paste, now we're just going to select the forehead, copy and paste, we're going to flip it vertically, which is just Edit, Transform, and flip vertically. And now we're going to free transform that to fit a larger size. We're going to adjust the mouthpiece now to make it smaller. And now he doesn't have such a wide jaw. Now to have this make sense, we're going to mask both the forehead that we flip vertically and the mouthpiece. And that's what you can do if you want a smaller mouthpiece and jawline. I actually want a more wider jawline and mouth. Okay, now it's time for Batman's symbol on his chest. And it's been several different shapes and variations of his symbol on his chest. One just a symbol of a bat, and another one a bat within a yellow circle. Or you can use the Bat Sentinel chest piece and just drag that on over. And now we have to put in his cape. And we already have several cape templates. Now we're just going to drag the cape on over and just free transform that to fit whatever shape and size we want. I actually don't like it looking that way, and I actually want it to go underneath the bat symbol piece. So I'm going to go over to the layer window, and I'm going to drag the cape underneath the bat symbol picture, and I really don't like it looking like that, and I want it more smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to liquefy the cape. To liquefy, all you do is hold down the shift and the control button, then you hit X, and a liquefy box will come up. I'm going to use the biggest brush size I can. I'm going to use that very first brush. I'm just going to compress down the cape, make it look how I want. Now if you can't compress it exactly how you want, you go to Edit, Free Transform, Distort, and you just move the corners to however you want, and they move them in a slanting kind of way. Once you get the cape design you want, you can duplicate it. And I want his cape to be whipping through the wind. So I'm going to take one of the capes, and I'm just going to stretch it out by free transforming it. I want to add some squiggy lines in there, so I'm going to liquefy. I'm going to use either the second or the third brush, and I'm just going to make little squiggy lines in there. I'll give it a couple of waves. Now I want to curve that right side, I want to curve that right cape. So I'm going to liquefy, and I'm just going to use that first tool and kind of bend it towards the left. Okay, now to add the city in the background. And I have in there another cape layer that originally I wanted, but I don't want no more. So after I put in the picture, I'm going to take that other cape layer out, and I'm just going to, now since this city is a JPEG, I can just drag it on over without having to select the whole picture. And I'm just going to adjust the picture to how I want it. I might flip it, might not. I'll drag it here and there. And now you can see I've taken out that other cape layer. And now I want to add in his glove. Now this glove I found off a movie prop from the Burton movie series, and the actual palm and the fingertips to it is just something I found off a motorbike glove. Okay, once you adjust the glove to how you want his hand to be positioned, now it's time to put a batarang in there. And I don't know exactly which batarang I want to use, so I'm going to use a couple of different selections. I'm just going to free transform those to fit the position of his hand. Now I want to mask out part of the batarang that goes over the glove. And I'm just going to use my selection tool and highlight around where his hands are that he'll be holding it. But before you do that, you have to hit the mask tool on all the batarangs first. Then you select it. And then once it's highlighted, you're going to go to each batarang, take your bucket tool, select black, and then just click within the highlighted area on each batarang. Then you're going to deselect it. And you can deselect by going out to the select window, then hit deselect, or you can just use the selection tool and do it. And you're going to take your paintbrush and you're just going to paint in parts that he should be holding. So you're going to select the box to white, and there you go. And that is a Batman picture with a variation of batarangs he's holding.